Discover the incredible journey of the Black CEO who transformed doubt into a $500,000 buyout. Marcus Wright's story was not just another entrepreneurial tale, it was a vibrant testament to resilience and the unyielding spirit of a community. Born and raised in a bustling neighborhood in Atlanta, Georgia, he spent his days inspired by the rhythmic pulse of life around him. Each mural that decorated the streets told a story of strength, culture, and dreams soaring high above systemic barriers. Alongside his grandmother, a no-nonsense military veteran, Marcus learned the grit of hard work and the importance of lifting others as you rise. Nights were spent huddled over an old laptop, his fingers flying across the keyboard. Lines of code danced like magic before his eyes, echoing hopes of innovation that could spark change not just for him, but for everyone who shared his roots. Yet, despite his talents, the door to funding felt slammed shut. Investors' skeptical glances weighed heavily upon him, igniting an internal fire fueled by societal prejudice. How could he possibly prove them wrong when every step seemed like a fight uphill? One evening, the quiet calm was pierced by a phone call from Jake, his cousin, a gifted musician with dreams of his own. "Marcus, I need a loan to record my album. I know you can help." The desperation in Jake's voice tugged at Marcus's heartstrings. Torn between family loyalty and his own ambitions, Marcus felt the pressure mounting. The disapproving looks of investors echoed in his mind. Could he take a step back from his dreams to help Jake rise? Lost in thought, Marcus wandered through the colorful streets that had shaped him, when he bumped into Sylvia, a local business leader. Her smile radiated warmth, and their conversation sparked the embers of hope in Marcus's chest. "Your journey matters. Combine your tech dreams with your community's needs, and you'll never fail," she encouraged. Inspired, he began to envision a startup that infused profit with purpose, redefining success on his own terms. Then came the opportunity that could change everything. A chance to pitch his startup to powerful investors. As he prepared, his heart raced. Would they see him for who he truly was? Standing before them, he poured out his soul, sharing his vision of a legacy that transcended numbers. The air crackled with tension. They leaned in, captivated not just by his stats, but by his story, a testament of struggle, resilience, and community empowerment. Just as he began to exhale with relief and hope, a late-night phone call shattered the moment. "Marcus, I messed up. I took a risk, and it might ruin everything." Jake's voice was laced with fear. Marcus felt his heart drop and his mind whirl. He could sense the weight of two worlds crashing down around him, and the stakes had never been higher. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue." Marcus stood at a crossroads, gripping the phone as doubt tightened its grip around his chest. Here lay his greatest dilemma: could he find a way to emerge victorious in a world that often underestimated his potential? Or would he sacrifice everything he dreamed of to protect the bonds that tied him to his family? The choices he faced loomed larger and heavier, leaving him questioning everything he had ever known. The future of his startup and the fate of his community hung in the balance. What would he decide? Marcus looked out of the window, a city skyline illuminated by the soft glow of streetlights, but his mind was enveloped in darkness. The sirens of his doubts were suddenly deafening. Could he truly win the war brewing within him? It felt as if every heartbeat echoed the weight of his choices, and he needed to make one soon. "Marcus?" Jake's shaky voice pulled him out of his spiraling thoughts. I'm sorry. I believed in this chance, you know. It could have taken me places." The guilt riddled his cousin's words, the sting of remorse hanging heavy between them. "Jake, what did you do?" Marcus inhaled sharply, bracing himself, as the fear began to morph into anger. I trusted someone who shouldn't have been trusted. Jake's confession hung in the air. I didn't think. I just thought it'd be my break. Each remorseful note in his tone cut deeper into Marcus. He felt caught in a storm where waves of obligation crashed against the rocks of his ambition. Silence filled the gap, thick and suffocating. The streets outside felt alive, but to Marcus, they mirrored the turmoil within. Everything he worked for, the sleepless nights, the hopes he carried, the pitch that had made them glance his way, could it all slip through his fingers because of one misplaced trust? Listen, we can figure this out, he finally said, his voice steadier than he felt. But you need to tell me everything. A decision crystallized in his mind: he would face this challenge head-on. Jake was family, and though the path was perilous, he could not turn his back. Okay. I got involved with a producer who promised exposure, and now, there's money missing. They're not answering my calls. I have until tomorrow to come up with it, Marcus. Panic seized Jake's voice. The clock was ticking. As the night deepened, Marcus's thoughts raced alongside his pulse. He saw every mural again, the stories of triumph and trials painted bright across the city. His vision started to sharpen. What if he could spin Jake's setback into a way to lift them both? I'll help you, he said firmly, the resolve shifting within him. We can turn this into a project that focuses on your music and my tech. We'll launch a crowdfunding campaign. Are you serious? What if it fails? Jake's doubt dripped through the line, but Marcus wasn't ready to back down. What if it doesn't? He countered. What if this is our chance to inspire others? This could reflect everything we've learned and everything we've faced. We'll tell our story. Let us put everything on the line together. As he said it, a sense of freedom washed over Marcus. The fear was still there, gnawing at him, but he realized this was the very moment he had been waiting for. He wasn't just fighting for his startup anymore, he was pushing for something larger, for a vision that encompassed both of their dreams. I'll send you a plan, Marcus said, a hint of excitement cracking through the worry. This could be it, Jake finished, a note of hope surfacing in his voice. Together, they would face the storm. Marcus hung up and grabbed a notebook, scribbling down ideas and sketches for the crowdfunding campaign. The adrenaline surged, propelling him into action, fueled by the understanding that this was more than just about them. It was about a community that needed validation, about families who battled through doubt and broke free against the odds. But as he worked through the night, exhaustion threatened to pull him under. Could he really pull this off? With a heart racing in uncertainty, he closed his eyes for a moment, knowing he would need every ounce of strength when the sun rose on their new mission. Outside, the city never slept, just like his determination to overcome. The new dawn would bring its challenges, but also the spark of possibility. And tomorrow, they'd have to confront their situation head-on. Would it be the turning point they needed, or yet another misunderstanding in the venture of their lives? The next morning, they would have to face not only the world outside but the truth behind Jake's decision. The tension hung in the air like a fresh dawn's fog, as Marcus braced himself for what lay ahead. The sun peeked through the blinds, casting stripes of light across Marcus's cluttered desk. He rubbed his eyes, fighting off the fatigue that had accumulated after a restless night. It wasn't just the exhaustion weighing him down, it was the uncertainty of what lay ahead. Jake needed answers, and Marcus needed a plan. He tapped his fingers on the table, contemplating how to transform their predicament into something positive. Time was short, and anxiety nipped at his heels. He had promised to help Jake, and he meant it. He could feel the throbbing pulse of the city outside. It was alive with opportunity, and he knew they had to harness that energy. After a quick shower and a cup of strong coffee, he dialed Jake's number. The ringing felt interminable, each beep a reminder of the ticking clock. Finally, he heard Jake's breathless voice. Marcus, I've been thinking. What if we're biting off more than we can chew? Crowdfunding feels like a shot in the dark, Jake said, his voice shaky. Jake, we need to be all in. Your music matters, Marcus replied. He took a deep breath, grounding himself. Let us do this together. We'll show people what real passion looks like. This is our fight, not just yours. I don't want to let you down, Jake whispered, vulnerability making his voice crack. You won T. I promise, Marcus assured him. We're family. I've got your back. He sensed the hesitation on the other end and fought to instill hope where there was fear. Let us meet up, brainstorm some ideas, and get our story out there. We can create something real that resonates with people. It's all about connection. A moment of silence stretched between them, then Jake sighed. Okay, I'm in. What do you have in mind? As they discussed ideas, Marcus could feel excitement bubbling in his chest. They'd appeal to local artists and dreamers, pull together a community of supporters who understood the struggles of breaking through. He sketched out a rough plan, a crowdfunding video that would tell their story, highlighting the challenges they faced but framing it as a battle worth fighting. Let us feature interviews with local artists, get testimonials, show the authenticity, Marcus proposed, the images of the city pouring into his mind. People love a good story, and this community has so many to tell. They'll root for us. Yeah, but we need a budget, equipment, and all of that, Jake reminded him. Marcus's heart raced, but he waved off the worry. We can rent what we need, maybe even ask locals for support. If we tell them what we're trying to achieve, I believe they'll want to contribute. We can do this. As they finalized details, a surge of adrenaline coursed through Marcus. The stakes felt high, but they were undeniably thrilling too. This wasn't just about saving Jake from his mistake, it was a chance to show that failures could transform into stepping stones. As the sun climbed higher, illuminating the hustle of the city, Marcus felt a sense of purpose stitching together the loose threads of his night. They set a meeting time for later that afternoon in a nearby park, a vibrant place, filled with energy and possibilities. But just when those rays of hope started to shine brighter, there was a sudden dullness in his gut. Marcus's phone buzzed, a notification glowing ominously on the screen. It was a message from Jake, but it wasn't what he wanted to see. Marcus, I just got a call from the producer, we need to meet him today. The air thickened with an unspoken challenge. Marcus's mind raced. What would this meeting mean for their plans? Would it crush their hopes before they even began? With a knot tightening in his chest, he typed a quick reply, feeling the weight of what lay ahead. Let South talk at the park first, and then we'll handle the producer. But in his heart, a deep stillness settled. He knew the truth, they were stepping into the unknown. Would they find a way to turn the tide, or be swept away in the overwhelming current? As he gathered his things, the realization hit him hard: tomorrow's meeting could change everything. All he'd fought for could hang in the balance, and he could only pray that they had the strength to turn doubt into triumph. The tightening spiral of anxiety twisted in Marcus's stomach, a feeling he couldn't shake off. What awaited them in that meeting could either propel them forward or pull them under. Would they conquer the past, or would the shadows of Jake's decisions emerge to challenge their future? Marcus felt the sun beating down on his face as he stepped onto the bustling street. The park was just around the corner, its greenery a stark contrast to the concrete jungle surrounding it. His heart beat faster with each step, anticipation mingling with anxiety. He needed to be strong for Jake, who was still reeling from the weight of that call. He arrived at the park, where the sounds of laughter and music blended into a warm embrace. Bright colors danced across the scene, children played tag, couples strolled hand in hand, and artists dotted the grassy area, lost in their creative worlds. But for Marcus, the joy around him felt distant, like a mirage in the desert of his thoughts. He spotted Jake sitting on one of the benches, fiddling with his guitar. His eyes were glued to the strings, the familiar furrow of concentration on his brow. Yet, Marcus could see the storm brewing beneath the surface. He approached cautiously, as if stepping into a fragile bubble. "Hey," Marcus said, forcing a smile. "You ready to brainstorm?" Jake looked up, his expression bleak. I don't know, man. This producer, they want to know if I can deliver. What if I let you down again? Marcus pulled a seat next to him, the weight of Jake's doubts echoing painfully in his chest. You won't let me down. We're in this together, remember? Think of what we talked about. Your music has the power to connect people. That's what we need to focus on. Jake let out a shaky breath, the tension easing ever so slightly. What if he thinks my music isn't good enough? What if this is just another dead end? Then we change the narrative, Marcus replied, determination rising in his voice. We show him who you are. But first, we need to craft our message well. The video, the interviews, it becomes a personal story. You've been through enough. Your authenticity will shine through. It's not just your music at stake, it's your journey. Jake relaxed a bit more. The cast of doubt around him began to lift. What if he dismisses it? Then we learn from it, Marcus countered, his voice steady. It's not about whether we fail or not, it's about how we grow. Each step is a part of the journey. Trust me, you are more than just a musician. You have a voice, a story people will want to hear. They both paused, taking in the vibrant life around them. A musician in the distance strummed a heartfelt melody that wafted through the air, and Marcus watched as Jake closed his eyes, seemingly drowning in the sound. After a moment, Jake opened his eyes, a flicker of inspiration lighting them up. Okay, let us make this work. Let us tell my story. Not just about music but about everything I've faced. Maybe I can make them feel what I felt. Marcus felt a surge of excitement, a flicker of the hope they had spent hours building that morning. That's the spirit. You bring your life into your music, that's what makes it special. Their conversation shifted, plans turning into action. They discussed how they could set up interviews with local artists, the importance of visuals, and how to weave Jake's struggles into something powerful and moving. But as they spoke, a shadow crossed Jake's face, his earlier resolve fading. What if we get rejected at the meeting with the producer? What happens next? The question hung between them like a heavy cloud. Marcus clenched his jaw, the weight of uncertainty pressing down. We'll figure it out. We'll adapt. But here's the thing, we can't let fear dictate our path. We need to give it everything we've got. Their eyes locked, and Marcus recognized the flicker of determination now burning within Jake. It wasn't just about the music anymore, it was about fighting for their dreams, coming alive in ways they never imagined. The sun began to dip lower in the sky, casting long shadows around them, but to Marcus, it felt like the dawn of something new. A new beginning. Let us do this, Jake said, clenching his fists. Let us take a shot. Absolutely. We're a team, Marcus replied, feeling the warmth of hope wrap around him. But as they readied to leave the park, Marcus couldn't shake. The nagging feeling at the back of his mind, this meeting with the producer loomed ahead like a storm cloud. Would they weather the storm, or would they be struck down by the lightning of judgment and fear? As they walked toward the brewing chaos of that meeting, the questions tightened their grip on his heart once more. Would this be the breakthrough they needed, or the moment everything fell apart? The air was charged with a mix of nerves and excitement as Jake and Marcus approached the tall glass building that housed the producer's office. The reality of what awaited them simmered just beneath the surface, each footstep echoing their shared anticipation. A glimmer of hope flickered in Jake's eyes, yet shadows of doubt loomed just beyond, ready to consume that flicker. Remember, just be yourself, Marcus encouraged, nudging Jake's shoulder. You're not trying to impress anyone, you're sharing your truth. Jake nodded, managing a weak smile. But Marcus could see the fear swirling in his friend's gaze. It was like watching the waves crash against the shore, powerful yet terrifying, and just as unpredictable. As they stepped through the revolving doors, the cool air wrapped around them, a stark contrast to the warmth outside. The lobby was buzzing with energy, people moving with purpose, and the distant sound of a piano floated from somewhere upstairs. Marcus felt his heartbeat quicken, matching the rhythm of the bustling world around them. "Here goes nothing," Jake muttered, more to himself than Marcus. He straightened his back, gripping the strap of his guitar like a lifeline. They took the elevator up, the silence between them thick with unspoken words. Marcus cast a sideways glance at Jake, hoping to find some reassurance in his eyes, but instead, he saw his friend lost in thought, wrestling with the demons of self-doubt. It was a reminder that this moment was more than just a meeting, it was a pivotal point for Jake's future. When the elevator doors opened, they stepped into a corridor lined with artwork that seemed to pulsate with creativity. Each piece told its own story, a testament to the kind of artists they hoped to become one day. They found the conference room, imposing with its sleek design, and took a moment to breathe before stepping inside. Inside, the producer sat behind a massive oak table, a sharp contrast to the soft acoustics of the room. He looked up as they entered, a mixture of curiosity and authority in his gaze. "You must be Jake," he said, offering a nod. "And you're Marcus? Welcome. Let us see what you've got." They took their seats, and Jake positioned his guitar, fingers trembling slightly over the strings. The room felt smaller now, like a tight embrace filled with anticipation. Marcus leaned forward, willing all his strength into encouraging energy. "Whenever you're ready," the producer said, leaning back with a keen interest. Jake shot Marcus a quick look, a silent plea for support. Marcus nodded, silently urging him to let the music flow through him. With a deep breath, Jake began to strum. The melody filled the room, and with each note, a piece of his soul began to break free. As he played, stories spilled out, not just the struggles he faced but the triumphs, the heartaches, and the profound hope that all of it led to. Marcus watched as the tension in Jake's posture eased, the music transforming him into someone vibrant and alive. He could feel the atmosphere shift, the producer's eyebrows raised in interest, a smile breaking across his face. But just as they seemed to ride the wave of success, a loud knock on the door cut through their moment. The producer frowned and glanced toward the door, annoyance flashing briefly in his eyes. He stood to answer, leaving Jake and Marcus exchanging worried glances. "What could that be?" Jake whispered, a nervous edge creeping back into his voice. Marcus felt the shift, the moment stretching out. Would this interruption snuff out the progress they'd just made? Would the magic of Jake's performance vanish into the air like smoke? As the door opened, the silhouette of a figure loomed in the doorway, and a chill ran down Marcus's spine as he recognized the familiar face. It was someone from their past, someone who had never believed in Jake's potential. "Jake, do you really think you can make it?" the figure asked, a smirk gracing their lips. The room felt suffocatingly small again. Jake's hands faltered on the guitar, and Marcus's heart sank. Was this the crack that would break them? Jake looked from the producer to the unwelcome visitor, determination etched fiercely across his features. "Wanna bet?" And suddenly, the stakes rose. This was no longer just about the music. This was about overcoming doubt, proving wrong everyone who ever doubted him. What would Jake do next, in the face of this unexpected challenge? Would he rise to the occasion and reclaim his moment, or would the specter of his past now haunt him anew? The silence stretched in the wake of that challenge, aching but electric. Jake held his breath, his body coiled with tension, while Marcus could feel every heartbeat thunder like a drum in his chest. The figure in the doorway smirked, relishing the power of the moment, as if they were an unwelcome shadow that could dampen a bright flame. "Do you really think this is your shot? You've never even played in front of a crowd," the figure taunted, stepping fully inside. It was Sam, a face they both thought they'd left behind. His presence felt like a dark cloud settling over the room, blocking out any sunlight. Jake's fingers trembled over the guitar, the music that had begun as a lifeline now feeling like a struggling ember. "You're wrong," Jake said, his voice steadier than he expected. "I am ready. This is my moment, and it's happening right now." The producer shifted slightly, clearly intrigued by the confrontation. He leaned in, watching closely. Marcus felt that shift, too. This wasn't just about Jake's song, it was about standing up to those who doubted him. The tension snapped like a twig underfoot, buoyed by Jake's newfound resolve. "Sure, keep telling yourself that," Sam said, feigning a yawn. "But reality will hit you hard. You think you can just play a few chords and make it big?" Before Jake could respond, the producer cut in. "What have you got for us, Jake? Just play. Let your music speak for you." His tone was firm, but inviting, pulling everyone's attention back to the purpose of the meeting. With a deep breath, Jake swallowed down the doubt like bitter medicine. He glanced at Marcus, who nodded. This was it. He had a chance to prove not just to the producer, but to himself. Jake adjusted his grip on the guitar. Closing his eyes, he tried to channel the emotions swirling in his heart. The hurt. The struggle. The dreams. He strummed the first chord, allowing the sound to wash over him. It was richer now, fueled by the confrontation. Marcus leaned closer, his eyes sparkling with pride. This was their history and future woven together in every note. As the melody built, Jake felt the fear ebbing away. The music became a conversation, a declaration of who he was, no longer the boy who had been dismissed, but a man ready to rise. He poured everything he had into that performance, letting the chords resonate with raw honesty. The hurtful echo of Sam's voice faded, replaced by the intoxicating freedom of self-expression. Each verse was a reminder of his journey, the trials he had faced, and the people who had stood beside him. The room turned electric, the producer's eyes growing wide, fully aware of the talent radiating from the young musician. Jake's face was illuminated with determination, sweat beading as he lost himself in the flow. And then it happened. As he reached the climax of his song, the door swung open again, interrupting him mid-note. This time, however, it wasn't Sam, it was a burst of laughter and chatter, another group of industry insiders, drawn by the budding magic they could hear through the walls. The new faces filled the room with an energy that shattered the tension left by Sam's departure. They were a mixture of curiosity and delight, ready for something fresh and real. Jake's breath caught as he opened his eyes to see the crowd growing, their attention now fully on him. "Look, it's the rising star everyone's talking about," one of the new arrivals said, smiling widely. "This could be the next big thing." Jake felt a spark of hope ignite within him, but it mingled with confusion. Would their support shift the tide in his favor? Could he truly let himself believe that he was worthy of such attention? The liberating thrill of performing faded slightly as fear crept back in. What if it was all a temporary illusion? Marcus could see the current tugging at Jake's emotions, his friend teetering on a threshold of exhilaration and doubt. "Don't stop now," he urged, eyes filled with fire. "This is your moment." Jake's heart raced. Could he harness the energy bustling around him, mix it with the remnants of his earlier fear, and turn this into something unforgettable? Would he rise above the shadows of his past? As he lifted his guitar again, another wave of uncertainty crashed upon him, but this time it felt different. More potent. Would he face it head-on or let it wash him away? The room hushed, waiting for his next move. Would the sound of his guitar drown out the whisper of doubt, or would he fall silent, retreating into the background once again? As he took a deep breath, he could only wonder which Jake would emerge today. Jake steadied his breath and focused, strumming the guitar again. The sound echoed, filled with a desperate longing and undeniable strength. He locked eyes with Marcus, who was silently cheering him on, his very presence a grounding force. With a resolve stronger than steel, Jake began to play. The chords flowed from his fingers, each note a brushstroke on the canvas of his fears. He sang, really sang, as if every word carried the weight of his dreams. Rather than crumbling under the pressure, he felt each note lift him higher, the rhythm of his story pouring into the room. The energy shifted. Heads nodded along with the beat. The new crowd leaned in, captivated, sipping on the raw power of his music. Jake's heart sang along, matching the resonance of every chord, his voice climbing higher as he bared his soul. But then, the familiar taunt of Sam echoed in his mind, casting a shadow over his bravado. Just moments before, Sam had seemed like a formidable wall, one that could crush the soft flower of his dreams. Yet now, Jake found himself using Sam's doubt as fuel, intensifying his performance instead of drowning in fear. He was rising, wielding his vulnerability like a sword against the shame. As he reached the final verse, something shifted in the room. The power of his music surged, a tidal wave sweeping across the energy. People were no longer just listening, they were connecting, feeling his journey resonate with their own. He could see it in their eyes, the flicker of recognition, the glimmer of hope. The producer sat rigid in his chair, his hand covering his mouth, nodding along, becoming lost in the moment. The walls that once confined Jake began to melt away, replaced by the warmth of acceptance and understanding. It was intoxicating. With one final chord, Jake poured every ounce of himself into a shout, a cry, a victorious proclamation. His song ended on a powerful note, hanging in the air like a champion's final victory. The applause came suddenly, a wave crashing over him, expanding endlessly. Cheers, whistles, and shouts echoed in the room, filling every crevice. Jake opened his eyes, panting with exhilaration, his heart racing at the realization that he had done it. He faced the music and came out victorious. But just as the jubilant noise swelled, his eyes flickered to Sam, who stood stiff, unreadable, a sudden crease forming between his brows. What was it? Jake felt unease creep back in. Sam's expression didn't quite match what everyone else was feeling. The confusion in the room also felt palpable. It was as if everyone shared a collective anxious breath. Jake glanced back at Marcus, who wore a look of cautious enthusiasm. What do you think? Marcus shot him a questioning glance, as if sensing something that Jake still couldn't quite see. Then, before anyone could speak, the producer stood, his face radiant. Incredible. You've got something truly special, he exclaimed, raising an eyebrow as he scanned the room. But just when Jake began to hope, he added, but I need to talk to some people first. This isn't a decision I take lightly. A knot formed in Jake's stomach. His moment felt fragile, teetering on a precipice of potential, a promising dream that could collapse at any instant. What if everything wasn't as it seemed? What if the darkness would seep back in? As applause swelled in the room, the echoes of doubt settled under the surface of his elation, swirling like storm clouds. Could he keep this momentum going, or would the shadows of yesterday pull him back? With the attention still focused on him, Jake stood there, heart pounding. Was it victory he felt, or the quiet murmur of something darker lurking just out of sight? Would he be able to seize this moment, or would it slip through his fingers like so many before? As conversations began to fill the air, the uncertainty loomed larger than ever. What awaited him just out of sight? Jake's heart raced as the applause continued to echo around him, stirring a melange of emotions in his chest. A part of him wanted to soak it all in this moment of triumph, the admiration from the audience, and the proud smile on Marcus's face. Yet, another part couldn't shake the nagging doubt, like a shadow stuck to his heels. He looked at Sam again. There was an intensity to Sam's gaze, something unreadable that twisted in Jake's stomach like a live wire. Why wasn't Sam smiling? Why did he look disappointed? For a split second, Jake's mind spiraled into the same anxious places it always had. Was it him? Did he not do enough to impress? The producer's voice cut through his tumult. Let's take this discussion backstage, Jake. I want to explore some ideas moving forward. There was urgency in the producer's tone, a spark of opportunity. Jake nodded mechanically, still caught in a web of uncertainty. Was this a good sign? Or just another way of getting his hopes up? As he stepped down from the small stage, Jake felt the subtle shift of attention. The roaring applause faded to a muted hum, and he was suddenly aware of the whispers around him. Opinions flying. Praise mingling with skepticism. Who were they to critique his moment? The fear of judgment climbed back into his throat, choking the exhilaration. Marcus fell into step beside him, clapping him on the shoulder. "You were amazing. Seriously, Jake. You have this gift and you just showed it to the world." His words ignited a flicker of warmth inside Jake, fighting against the cold tendrils of doubt. "Thanks, man," Jake replied, attempting a smile despite the turmoil beneath. "But did you see Sam? What is going on with him?" Marcus frowned, glancing back at Sam, who now stood talking in hushed tones with another member of the crowd. "I don't know. He's tough to read sometimes. But don't let him get into your head. Focus on the moment. You just rocked it." As they approached the backstage area, Jake felt the familiar sticky layering of nerves creeping back. The producer waved them over with a motion that felt both inviting and intimidating. Jake's palm slicked against the guitar, the instrument he had poured his heart into feeling heavier than ever. "First off, incredible performance," the producer praised, his voice booming over the buzz of chattering band members and excited fans. "I'd like to talk about your sound. It has potential, we just need to polish a few things." Jake swallowed hard. "Polish? You mean absolutely?" The producer nodded, a gleam in his eye. "But I'm thinking we need to reassess a few elements. Something's got to change for you to take that next leap." The weight of those words settled over Jake. Change? He recoiled slightly, fear dancing at the edge of his thoughts. Would this mean compromising his essence, the very core of who he was as an artist? Change is good, right? Marcus leaned in, trying to read Jake's face. "You've got this." Jake hesitated, glancing around at the signs of support, the smiles, the high fives, but those shadows still loomed, pulled from doubts he thought he'd conquered. What if the changes were more than he could handle? Just then, Sam made his way through the throng, disturbing something inside Jake. There was urgency, intensity in Sam's demeanor that felt overwhelming. "Jake," he called, his voice cutting through the noise. "Can we talk? There's something important you need to know." A chill raced down Jake's spine. The weight of the moment pressed heavily against his chest. He felt the entire room fade away, and it was just him and Sam, two forces in the storm, one representing hope, the other doubt. "Right now?" Jake asked, unsure of the implications in Sam's tone. "Yes. Right now. It's about your future," Sam replied, urgency wrapping around his words, robbing Jake of his breath. With uncertainty bubbling in his stomach, Jake exchanged a glance with Marcus. The moment felt fragile, charged. He felt the urge to step forward into this conversation, but what would it mean? What revelations awaited him behind that intensity in Sam's eyes? Would they lift him even higher, or would they threaten to pull him back into the shadows? Jake's mind raced as he watched Sam approach, something heavy in the air between them. The noise from the backstage faded, becoming just a murmur. All Jake could focus on was Sam's serious expression, the way his brows knitted together as he took a breath, as if steeling himself for a storm. "Come on, let us step outside," Sam said, leading the way toward the exit. Jake nodded, confusion and a hint of dread churning in his gut. The cool night air hit them as they slipped into the alley behind the venue, a stark contrast to the heat inside. Streetlights cast a soft glow, illuminating Sam's face, revealing an urgency Jake couldn't ignore. "Jake, I've been thinking a lot about you, about this moment," Sam began, glancing back toward the thrumming crowd. "It's amazing, but I need to tell you the truth." Jake shifted his weight, feeling vulnerable. "What is it? Just say it." The knot of anxiety twisted tighter, the shadows of doubt creeping back. "Your talent is undeniable," Sam admitted, his voice steady yet tense. "But you have to be careful with the changes they're suggesting. They could bury your voice. You have something special, and I'm worried it'll get lost if you start catering to what the industry thinks you should be." Jake swallowed hard. "But, the producer seems to see potential." Isn't that what I want? Yes, yes, but at what cost? Sam questioned, stepping closer. I've seen too many people drown in the mold others try to fit them into. I can't let that happen to you. For a moment, silence hung between them, heavy and electric. Jake's heart pounded in his chest. What do you think I should do? I think you should stay true to yourself, Sam said firmly. I know how hard this is for you right now. These moments can be overwhelming. There's pressure, everyone has an opinion. But remember what got you here in the first place, your passion, your story. Jake blinked, feeling the weight of Sam's words settle deep within him. He recalled the late nights spent writing songs alone, the dreams that lit up his mind but had always felt out of reach. Was it too late to hold on to that authenticity? Jake, Sam continued, this is your story to tell, not theirs. Don't let them erase it. I see that now, Jake admitted slowly, feeling a flicker of hope amidst the turmoil. But what if they don't like me anymore? What if my sound doesn't fit with what's popular? Then find your people, the ones who love your sound for what it is, Sam urged, his eyes locked on Jake's as if they could share the weight of his worries. You can change, but only in ways that honor who you are. This isn't just a career, it's your life. Jake's heart swelled with understanding. It felt raw, but freeing. The shadows slowly receded, brightening the path ahead. So, what do I do next? Sam smiled, a glimmer of relief washing over him. Trust yourself. Trust your voice. And if you need someone in your corner, I'll be right here. Thanks, Sam, Jake breathed, a sense of clarity filling the gap where doubt had lingered. I know this won't be easy, but I won't forget what you've just said. As they walked back inside, the beats of the music pulsed through the walls, the crowd alive with excitement. Jake's heart mirrored that rhythm. This moment could be the dawning of something incredible. But as the two of them returned to the throng, a sharp call echoed through the air, a voice from the shadows, one Jake never expected to hear again. Jake! We need to talk. Now. Curiosity and apprehension crashed over him. What was this new twist awaiting him? Was it more moments of revelation or shadows lurking, ready to shake everything he had just rebuilt? Jake's heart sank at the familiar voice slicing through the lingering excitement of the crowd. He turned to face Sam, who looked as unsettled as he felt. The tension was palpable as they both searched for the source of the command that drew their attention. Standing at the edge of the lively backstage atmosphere, arms crossed and expression hard, was a figure from Jake's past, Derek, a former bandmate turned rival. The last time their paths crossed, it felt like a storm had erupted. Memories flooded back, all the bitter wounds and bruises of jealousy and competition. Derek, Jake said, a mixture of surprise and wariness threading through his voice. What are you doing here? I'm here for you, actually, Derek replied, stepping closer with an intensity that burned through the crowd. We need to talk. Now. The excitement ebbed behind him as people began to murmur, glancing at the unfolding scene with curiosity and anticipation. Jake shot a look back at Sam, who silently urged him to keep his ground. About what? I've moved on from whatever it was between us. I'm not interested in fighting or rehashing old wounds. Derek laughed, a harsh sound that felt jarring against the warmth of the crowd. You call this movement moving on? You think your little performance changed anything? Stop, Sam intervened, stepping closer to Jake, a protective presence. He doesn't want to listen to negativity right now. Can't you see he's on the verge of something great? But Derek wasn't deterred. Oh, I get it. He's found his moment in the spotlight, but how long will it last? Just think. Do you really believe the industry is going to let a kid from your background become a star? They have their standards, and you don't fit the mold. Jake felt the familiar tide of doubt beginning to creep in again, but beneath it all, a fire ignited with renewed confidence. You don't get to decide my worth. I'm not bound by your limitations. What makes you so sure you can do this? Derek challenged, leaning in closer, the fire in his eyes daring Jake to falter. Jake took a deep breath, his heart pounding a rhythm of its own. It's called believing in myself. Something you clearly struggle with. Derek's expression shifted, confusion flickering across his features as the words sank in. Perhaps he didn't expect Jake to stand firm or to know who he was now. The tension hung thick between them, and Marcus stepped in, his voice unwavering. Everyone has their journey. Jake owns his. And it's not for you to define what he can or cannot become. Yeah, let us see how far this journey takes him, Derek retorted, throwing his hands up in a mock surrender. Just remember, it always pays to be realistic. And with that, he strided away, leaving behind whispers of doubt that dissipated into the air. Jake half expected the whispers to cling to him, but instead, a wave of relief washed over him. Was that really necessary? He said, exhaling a tension he never fully realized he was holding. Sam clapped Jake on the back as he chuckled. You handled that like a champ. Now he's the one running scared. Marcus added, and while he fades into the background, we focus on what's next. Are you ready to take the leap? Jake looked back at the audience behind the door. The hum of excitement echoed through the dim hallway, pulling him back to the moment he had almost lost sight of. Moments earlier, he had doubted himself in the face of a challenge. Now, he could feel the strength surging within him. Yeah, he said finally, the thrill creeping back into his veins. I'm ready. Emerging from the shadows, he could finally see his own path stretching before him, a journey built on resilience, authenticity, and the belief that he could shape his own destiny. He felt renewed, like the sun breaking through clouds after a storm. Together with Marcus and Sam at his side, he stepped back into the buzz of the crowd. The corners of his mouth turned upwards as he soaked in the energy, the laughter, and the intrigue. He wasn't just showing his music. He was sharing his story, a story of strength and transformation for anyone who had ever felt like they didn't belong. Let us do this, he declared, buoyed by the encouragement of his friends. As the applause swelled once again, a surge of determination surged through him. The shadows had flickered, but he had stepped back into the light. The future awaited, and with every chord he played, he would craft it. And for the first time in a long time, he felt truly free. The crowd roared as his name echoed off the walls. Jake locked eyes with Marcus and Sam, smiles breaking wide across all their faces. They were all in this together, facing whatever lay ahead. This was his moment. And as he prepared to seize it, Jake knew there was no turning back now. If this moment touched your heart or inspired you in any way, you need to subscribe now to keep witnessing these incredible transformations. Don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to experience the power of perseverance. Remember to leave a like now to feed the algorithm and comment below your thoughts and feelings about Jake's journey. Your support is what keeps these stories alive.